What a thriller that is going on in Greece, in Santorini, guys. It's the news keep coming, and there's so much that I want to tell you today. A famous beach has collapsed into the sea because of that magnitude 5.3 earthquake that we had yesterday. But not only on Santorini, people felt it, also on neighboring islands. I will tell you what they're doing. They're camping in their cars. Intense. It is really intense. About 10,000 people have left Santorini, but there's over 6,000 people that are still left on the island. Let's not forget that. But I want to tell you about a mysterious land rise that has been reported and a water level sinking. What that would mean, if that is really true, we know. If magma's rising up, if a magma chamber is filling up, this is exactly the phenomenon that we see, and that matches the earthquakes. So is it only tectonic, as many officials are saying, or is there magma on the move? I've said it to you in my last video. The earthquakes are shifting. They're moving from the Columbo volcano a little bit more to the eastern side, but that would match a magma intrusion if magma's going out of a magma chamber. Of course, there are fault lines. We will look into this again. But what I want to show you, what I want to start with before I show you all the earthquakes and that beach collapse and other scenes that are absolutely crazy. Stay with me until the end of the video, guys, because interesting stuff will keep coming. Let's start out with a video of residents, and I tell you, watch your ears, but I will not tune down the sound because you should hear this. A video has surfaced, or several that I want to show you during this video. I'm starting with the first one. Listen to this, how loud this is, how massive these earthquakes are. And what you have to understand, people, before I show you this has been going on since January 28th, basically. And look at these pictures of the tremors yesterday. This is one big fat cluster of chart lines. You can't even see the single chart lines. This has developed into a continuous tremor. And you're sitting at home and you're basically shaking continuously. It's not stopping. And you hear that noise because that's why people said the island is humming. It's roaring. And then you've seen the pictures of these cliffs collapsing, rocks falling, dust or smoke coming out of the cliffs where the homes are on top. It is really frightening and people are frightened. So look at this clip, guys.
Τώρα θα γίνει πάλι. Να το. Ωραία, πώς μου.
So isn't that intense? Intense to say the least. It is really intense. And there's also another testimony from another resident that really left the island. They said, or this person said, I lasted a week with these earthquakes on Santorini. I can't do this anymore. I can't. I'm exhausted. I can't sleep. My legs are trembling because it's trembling all the time. So that was the statement of a local resident that was standing in line to take the ferry. And also what this resident said, it was an older woman. So she has lived through the massive 7.7, some say 7.5 earthquake that happened on Santorini in 1956. That came with a tsunami and also an eruption. I've shown you the videos. I'll show you in the background again what happened. And the woman says, you know, what's happening right now is worse than 1956. She said, I lived through that. We were really shaken twice at that time, and then that was it. Now you get more scared by the day. You expect the cliff to fall any time now, she said. And she was looking up the cliffs while she was standing down there by the ferry. There are steep cliffs. They're all over the place on the island of Amorgos, Santorini, and also other islands in the area. And again, there has been some rockfall and some like infrastructure that was down by the beaches, like restaurants and some places have been destroyed by these rockfalls so far. In 1956, the situation was a little bit different. You saw that 7.7 quake on July 9th, 1956, and only 13 minutes later, it was followed by another 7.2. And then together, these two quakes have triggered a tsunami that peaked at 30 meters at 100 feet. And also 53 people were lost at that time. And the first one, the 7.7, was the strongest earthquake ever that the 20th century had seen in Greece. And Greece is a place that is used to strong earthquakes. Local were saying the timing of the earthquakes was, despite everything, fortunate, and they wonder what would have happened if the tremors had occurred in the summer at peak tourist season, because an estimated 3.4 million visitors right now are coming to the island annually, making it one of the most famous travel destinations. So right now, experts are doing their best to reassure people. They're saying this is the officials saying this, but there's other opinions. Officials are saying the tremors have nothing to do with the island's famous volcano. Santorini is a volcano. That can be devastating if this has a big blow. But also Columbo, this underwater volcano, where we see all these earthquakes right now, where we saw a significant one last year. I have reported about this, and since then they keep putting on more seismic stations to surveil that. They just announced this yesterday, 4 more stations. So why is this so important now if it's just tectonic? This is my big question. So around 1600 BC, Santorini, the Santorini volcano, that's why this island has this shape. This is a caldera. Produced one of the most violent eruptions ever witnessed by humans. And then there was another volcano nearby that erupted in 1650. So this is an area that can produce something scary. We're not thinking that Santorini will have a big eruption, but it had one triggered by the earthquake in 1956. But guys, let's have a look at another video that a resident has placed online of how this earthquake was looking when you're in your home. With this, all of these earthquakes, it's continuously rattling. Watch this.
Whoa. Panagiam.
So, and now, I want to show you a picture of a famous red beach, red sand beach at Santorini. So you see that big cliff, it's all red stones, rocks, and sand. And then you see where all these beach chairs are located. So what has happened there? So what the local press in Greece is reporting is the red beach of Santorini collapsed into the sea after the magnitude 5.3 earthquake. They say large rock fragments detached from the red beach, causing a massive landslide following the 5.3 quake off the coast of Amorgos on Tuesday afternoon. Fallen rocks blocked the path leading to the beach, even sweeping away some railings that were along the trail. Wow, guys, but this is not all. There's more. I said it in my last video that Turkey is feeling these earthquakes, the magnitude 5+ earthquakes as well. And then there have been some videos that surfaced in the Turkish media where they're saying that this seismic swarm that Santorini is facing and the area around Santorini, which scientists call a seismic phenomenon, a very unusual geological phenomenon. There's videos of residents that have filmed coastal areas of Turkey, and it shows, and they say that in recent days, the waters have receded, and they're wondering if this is a phenomenon that could be connected to the seismic activity that we're seeing around Santorini. We don't know, guys. There's nothing confirmed. There's no official explanation from any official scientists, but it is interesting to document what other people are seeing. But waters receding, that's not only reported from Turkey, it is reported right there where the earthquakes are happening. And that is way more concerning if this should turn out to be true. So what is going on? So what I'm telling you right now has not been confirmed yet. As I am making this video, I haven't found any confirmation, but it seems that the sea level in the region around Santorini appears to have dropped. These are reports that we hear in some newspapers, some social media, and apparently the sea level does not just drop aside from normal tides, and it's dropping aside from normal tides or sometimes in certain weather conditions, but that's not the case here. So if the water levels are dropping, what could be the reason? Well, we could see a rise of the land along the coastlines. We know, let's compare this to Campi Flegrei in Italy with the port of Pozzuoli. This lies right underneath the volcano, and there has been a land rise, a steady land rise since 2005. It's still rising currently at a rate of 2 centimeters per month. So because the land was rising, the water levels were basically receding. In the port of Pozzuoli, you see it the most, because where there used to be water, there is now along the seawall, there's grass growing because there's not enough water. So the port is getting more shallow. So is this the case here? So they say the rise in the coastlines was particularly visible along the coast of the small island of Anidros. And that is especially interesting because last night, this island, Anidros, was the center of the earthquake cluster. I told you it has moved. It was previously around the Columbo volcano, around the northeastern part of the Columbo volcanic area, because it's the big Columbo crater and it has several other craters. So it's a larger area, and it has moved towards the Anidros Island that you see here on the map. And there have photos that have surfaced that show, or supposedly show, that the unusual water level markings are 30 to 40 centimeters above the current water line. So current water line is here and markers are there. So it's sinking. Apparently, this is what has been reported. There is a measurable ground deformation that is now being linked to this earthquake swarm. Of course, and we've seen this in the past with the big earthquake, these ground uplifts can also be caused by tectonic movements. So the ground uplift, I mean, of course, this is combined with earthquakes in many, many areas that I'm reporting about, a strong indication for magma doing something, magma accumulating beneath the surface. But this could be tectonic, yes. And nobody knows at this point what it is. Nobody does. And I read statements, and I'm reading these more and more, that geologists are saying, I think this is magmatic. Something magmatic is moving, and that's why we're seeing these earthquakes, because the tectonic area that's in this area, if that was activated, why is it so intense and it's still long lasting? It does not look like tectonic stress is being relieved by these earthquakes. And also, we cannot identify one major earthquake that has happened and now we're seeing aftershocks or foreshocks. No, it keeps coming, it keeps coming. And it's so interesting. The Prime Minister just said, we are preparing for a catastrophe. We could see a bigger earthquake. We're preparing for another 7-point-something earthquake. Hasn't said anything about volcanic eruptions, but they are all saying this is something unusual. This is something we've never seen in this area. And then all of a sudden today, we hear a statement from the minister of Climate Crisis and Civil Protection. His name is Vasilis Kikilias. And he, of course, he has said it's so important to continuously monitor this thing. That's what the officials always say, no matter what area. But then he says, and that really surprised me, he said, while we are not witnessing anything out of the ordinary, vigilance is essential. This is strange because everyone says it is something out of the ordinary. Such a long-lasting, strong earthquake swarm that's basically continuously rattling. So he says this type of seismicity has been recorded in the past. While scientists are saying it hasn't, but whatever. He say we must be prepared for the unpredictable nature of the region's volcanic behavior. So I think there he's reassuring himself that if something bad happens, he said, well, I've said that it's unpredictable, right? So right now I think he's like trying to downplay this, keep it calm. Tourists, don't cancel your bookings. Tourist season is approaching fast. They do have an evacuation plan for Santorini, and so they're working together with local officials to guide people safely to temporary shelters, the ones that are still there. And the minister said the situation is under control. And I do believe that. It looks like it's under control by now. You know, like 2 days ago, there were complaints that people that wanted to get off the islands didn't get tickets for ferries or planes. There were not enough possibilities to get off the island quickly. They had to wait. And we've seen the pictures of the people waiting in their cars. So that should have eased off by now. And he says again, we're monitoring the quakes. There is no need for panic at this time. Well, if you're living on the island and you've been shaking continuously since January 28th, many people say they are in panic. And as they do not know what this is, a magnitude 7 point something could happen at any time. Again, like in 1956, that destroyed the buildings, almost a third of the buildings on the island. A tsunami was caused, a small eruption. But if this is volcanic origin, and let's say Columbo has an eruption, that could also send a tsunami and ash and whatever. So since they obviously do not know, why do they know that there is no need for panic? I think if I lived there, I would be in panic, definitely. Look at the updated maps from February 5th. You see the cluster of earthquakes there, and also you see here this map, and everything that's basically yellow is what we see currently. So this also marks the shift a little bit of these earthquakes, but also you see how many earthquakes we have there. The larger the circle, the larger the earthquake. But it's really hard to see individual circles because it's such a huge cluster. That's why I'm showing you this picture again. I showed it to you in my last video, but this is updated to Wednesday in Greece, February 5th. So you see how this earthquake swarm from January up until now has intensified, not only in the number of the earthquakes, but also you see the circles are getting way bigger, way bigger. And this is also, again, I'm showing you this chart here again, the black bars. There we see the magnitude range, lots in the magnitude between 2 and 3, lots in the magnitude between 3 and 4, but also lots in the lots because over 5, that is usually where lots over magnitude 5. I think it's like 5 by now, maybe even more. Don't quote me on that. But another chart that is also interesting, also these blue dots, they show the observed data regarding the magnitudes of these earthquakes. So the number of basically how many. So the x-axis shows us the magnitude, and then we see how many we've seen. While we look at that chart, since January 28th, the island of Santorini has experienced a significant increase in seismic activity. That's so obvious. more than 1,030 earthquakes with up to magnitudes of 5.3 have been recorded since then. And these earthquakes are concentrated about 25 kilometers northeast of Santorini and 25 kilometers southwest of Amorgos Islands. But I told you they have been shifting. What's behind these earthquakes? That is still the big elephant in the room. And you know, I've been trying with my videos to give you an explanation as to why a volcanic eruption or a strong earthquake could threaten the Aegean Sea. You know, if you see these Greek islands that have been threatened or terrorized by thousands of earthquakes in quick succession for basically 2 weeks, and people are fleeing the island, and it's still unclear what's behind the quakes. It's unusual even for this tectonic active region, although their minister of, public defense and climate something, says this is not unusual, don't panic, we've seen that before. Scientists disagree with that. So in theory, there could be two explanations that are conceivable. I mean, the quakes could be the precursors of the major earthquake, basically the prime minister has announced, that we're preparing for a catastrophe. That's what he was meaning. Or the earthquakes could be an indication of an eruption of the Columbo submarine volcano that is next to Santorini. But we do not hear that so much from the scientists and the Greek officials, but we hear it, for example, from scientists in Germany. They seem to be a little bit more worried about Columbo than what we hear from the official side in Greece. So that's why, I was glad that I found this, because so far I felt like, am I the only one that's kind of worried about this? So it's good that I can back this up. And in the comments, thank you so much. There was a comment of a geologist that basically said, I think you're right. I have a feeling that this is magmatic, the way these earthquakes are behaving, where they are moving, if we look at what's underneath. So that's why. Let's hope we're not right. Let's hope this is not magmatic, or let's hope it's only an intrusion. But I think, especially on this channel, we should talk about this. So yes, geological natural disasters are nothing new for Santorini. Around 3,600 years ago, it was the center of the greatest disasters of the European Bronze Age. This was a multi-phase eruption of the Thera volcano that has torn Santorini apart, and it caused a tsunami, and it covered large part of the eastern Mediterranean with ash and smoke. So this eruption, probably, that's what the experts are saying, also marked the end of the Minoans. So that was Europe's first advanced civilization. So that's why this is significant. Today, if we look at how Santorini looks, what's sticking out of the water, this crescent-shaped, I would have to say, these crescent-shaped remains of what used to be there before the eruption. And then we have the large underwater volcano of Santorini, this caldera. So this bears witness of this catastrophe that has already happened. And now we're seeing thousands of earthquakes in just 2 weeks. So things are getting restless again underground, beneath Santorini and above Columbo, the underwater volcano. So overall, if we take it until January 6th, more than 2,300 earthquakes. Jens Carstens, he works at Geomar Helmholtz Center for Ocean Research in Kiel in Germany. He says, yeah, earthquakes are common in the Aegean Sea, and earthquakes of this magnitude are more common. But he says, however, the current frequency of the earthquakes that we're seeing right now is very unusual. This area is facing a double threat right now: plate boundaries, tectonic stress, and underwater volcanoes. But what is geologically behind these quakes? That's the big question. The island lies on the Hellenic Arc, with active volcanoes, no question. But that's also a tectonic seam on the Earth's crust. And then immediately south of this zone, we have the African tectonic plate that is submerged beneath the Aegean plate. And that's repeatedly causing earthquakes. So swarms of earthquakes are basically nothing unusual in this area. But at the same time, this subduction there also feeds an arc of active volcanoes. We always have that in subduction zones. West coast of Canada and the US, for example, Cascadia subduction zone, all these volcanoes there. So one of these volcanoes, that's what the Germans are noting, is the underwater volcano Columbo. Just located a few kilometers, 4 miles northeast of Santorini. This Columbo guy has caused a violent underwater eruption in 1650. Spewed out several cubic kilometers of lava and ash and has triggered a tsunami that has unalived over 70 people on Santorini. And imagine at that time, there were not that many people on the island. But now, in the summertime, lots and lots of tourists. So the interesting thing is that the epicenter, or the epicenters, because it's so many, of the current earthquakes are also northeast of Santorini. Same location. And that fits with a discovery that geologists made in early 2023. I have also reported about this. They have identified a magma chamber under the Columbo volcano that is rapidly filling with molten magma. And they say it has about the same fill level that it had before Columbo last erupted. So this is of concern. And in my opinion, that's why they put up already, like in December last year, 4 seismic stations, I believe, and now 4 more. If this is not so concerning, why now, right? So they already know that per year, this amount of magma in that magma chamber is increasing by, it sounds small, but it is increasing by 0.004 cubic kilometers, not cubic meters, kilometers per year. And that is, let's calculate that down to 1 second, guys. 1 second. 330 kilograms of magma per second. So the Imperial College of London has been part of this investigation, and according to estimates by the team that was led here from that college, so the level of the chamber under the underwater volcano, under these Columbo volcano, is gradually approaching the level before the last major eruption. And we've seen this in Iceland. Sometimes we've seen the eruption when it had even a smaller fill amount than it had before the previous eruption. So if it reaches that critical zone, we could see an eruption. And now we're seeing this massive, massive earthquake swarm. This unusual geological phenomenon, how scientists are describing it. So as there is this double threat now, this of course makes it more difficult to assess the current situation. So it's currently unclear whether the series of earthquakes could be the harbinger of a strong earthquake in the Aegean Sea, or an indication of an impending eruption of Columbo or another volcano in the area, this Columbo group. It's currently not clear, and that's what also the Germans are saying, whether the current seismic crisis is purely tectonic origin, meaning it's caused by the active fault line, or whether it is related to magmatic processes. It is unclear versus the officials that are saying it's tectonic. So, but you know me, the Silky, I'm not backing down. I'm digging into this, especially since I have this suspicion since last year. So scientist Eleonora Rivalta from the GFZ Helmholtz Center for Geo Research in Germany in Potsdam, she says, the development of this series of earthquakes suggests that the volcano is the cause. Boom, there we have it. So two trends are currently noticeable: the number of earthquakes and their increasing magnitude. Both developments are often observed in the course of volcanic activity. And you freaks of my channel that are watching my channel, we know that, right? If you follow my channel and if what we're seeing there right now, the red alerts are going on, right? But of course, Rivalta says, on the other hand, seismological measurements also show increasing tensions along the plate boundary. And it's in Iceland too. There's the North Atlantic rift going through Iceland. Iceland's being torn apart, so we see the earthquakes there. But of course, the volcanoes are along that rift zone also. But then in Svartsengi, we see the clusters of earthquakes, and then we see the volcanic eruptions. So this often comes together. But what Rivalta is saying, that really did sound German. When I'm talking about Germany, I'm sliding back into German. So, so they are saying, we are finding that the Santorini system is more active than it has been for a long time. And that's concerning, in my opinion. It's also conceivable, that's what they're saying, that tectonic and volcanic factors are at play. Quote, the current earthquakes are due to both volcanic and tectonic activity. Interesting. So a probable movement of magma into the volcanic system of Santorini leads to tensions in the Earth's crust. So these tensions activate the numerous faults in the area around Santorini, which then causes earthquakes. The conclusion also of these scientists is, this is such a geologically complex situation around Santorini right now. It's difficult even for the best experts to predict future developments. So the activity could subside soon, hopefully, or continue for a longer period of time. And regardless of this, it is absolutely justified that the authorities take precautionary measures. Warning about possible tsunamis and landslides along steep slopes is particularly important in their opinion, as earthquakes can trigger such secondary hazards, and they already do that on Santorini. So earthquake experts, volcanologists are currently trying to find out more about what's going on there. And also these German geoscientists are involved. They don't know, they're saying, quote, it is unclear how the situation will develop in the near future. Interesting is what they're saying, that they're currently on site, that they're carrying out current measurements, and that they think that in a few days they will be able to better assess the situation. That's what the Germans are saying. So hopefully we will know more. And yeah, for now, I hope you found this interesting. If you did, guys, you have to subscribe, join my channel. And if you want to know more behind the scenes about my life and what I'm doing and what my farm's doing and Apollo is doing, become a member of this channel. The link is in the description of this video, or you click the join button. And thank you so much, guys, for supporting this channel with your views, with your likes, with your comments, with the supers that you're sending me, and with the support you're giving me on my buymeacoffee.com site /silky. Just sign up there, follow me there for free. I'll send out emails if there's significant eruptions, and I'm posting stuff there, but also you can support my channel and me. And right now, still, Apollo's horrendous vet bills. He's battling cancer. So the link is in the description of this video as well. I'm very, very grateful for your support, guys. And I have to say I mean, just yesterday, I got 50,000 subscribers, and today it's already reaching 52,000 subscribers, which is amazing, guys. So yeah, I guess, can I call myself a YouTuber now? I don't know what you think. Let me know in the comments. But anyways, we have to celebrate this, because this is our achievement as a group of subscribers, because you did this, guys. So thanks for that. Check out the videos in the end screen. This is all about Columbo and Santorini. Interesting stuff, and stay safe until the next one. Bye-bye.